For the week ended 21st of March 2022, the AFEX Commodity Exchange saw more than 10% increase in the number of deals, while total turnover plunged by over 40%. We have Femi Kende, structuring and originating analyst with AFEX, to give us the details. Hello, Femi. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So give us a rundown of activities for the week.
So like you rightly said, Metro 6 measuring liquidity on the exchange significantly declined for the reporting week as against the previously reported week. The value traded declined by about 44% as 810 million contracts were executed, million naira contracts were executed this week. Also for the volume traded, it declined by 37% week on week as 3.3 million contracts were executed for the reporting week. However, the numbers of deals increased by 10% as 541 deals were closed during the reporting week. For the financial benchmarks on the exchange, the AFEX Commodities Index and the AFEX Export Index actually increased compared to the previously reported week. The AFEX Commodities Index increased by 1.56% week on week, while the AFEX Export Index increased marginally by 0.07% week on week. For commodities traded across the exchange, maize and sorghum accounted for a significant proportion of the trade as 1.6 million contracts were executed this week, while soybean, cashew, and cocoa were traded for the reporting week. In terms of commodities prices, maize closed the week at 232 naira per contract, representing a 3.11 increase week on week. Paddy rice closed at 236 naira per contract, representing a 3.04% increase week on week. Cocoa closed the week at 1,290 naira per contract, representing a 7.42% increase week on week. However, sorghum closed the week negative as the commodity closed at 397 naira per contract, representing a 0.75 increase week on week, and sorghum closed the week at 225 naira per contract, representing a 0.10% increase week on week. For more information about our commodities report, you can check our website, which is www.afexnigeria.com, or you can follow us on our social media at AFEX Nigeria or Comex by AFEX.
All right, Femi, thank you so much. So moving to other conversations in the commodity space, in recent months, the price of fertilizer and its ingredients have shot through the roof. The range of factors, of course, include the Russian-Ukraine conflict. This has added pressure, and if Russia's export suffers as a result of the war and sanctions, so does global supply. So let's zero in on this. Kindly explain the implication of high cost of fertilizer to smallholder farmers and their customers.
Right, amazing question. So over time, we've realized that when you look at the cost of producing a commodity, the cost of fertilizer accounts for a significant proportion of this cost. So what we know is that if there's a continuous increase in the cost of fertilizer, there are either two things the farmers could do. They can continue to purchase this fertilizer at a lower rate, which will eat into their profit margins, or they can substitute for organic substitute like manure and the likes. Now, if this continues to eat into their profit margin, we know that over time, there will not be enough disposable income they can plow back into farming. And as a result of that, the increased productivity that we are expected to see will dwindle over time. Also, when you look at how this affects consumer, we know that while the cost of producing commodities will increase, also it will lead to the increase in the cost of the commodities itself. And at the end of the day, consumers will actually have to pay the final price for it, because if a farmer is going to purchase NPK at a significant higher rate than he purchased, he will honestly want to sell the commodity at a higher rate to the processor, and at the end of the day, the processor might want to transfer these prices to the end consumer. So we just know that this is going to continue to eat into the pockets of every individual player in the value chain, and most especially the farmer. And we anticipate that if this continues over time, and there are no specific intervention to tackle this problem, the profit margins that farmers are expected to gain will continue to dwindle. And if this is the case, we know that farmers will not be able to plow back more income into farming, and as a result of that, lower productivity will continue to be the case in Nigeria.
And then, of course, will increase the risk of food insecurity, a very tight cycle there. But according to World Bank data, countries in sub-Saharan Africa are small consumers of fertilizer compared to other regions of the world. With the current prices levels, what do you think could play out during the planting season? I know you painted a vivid picture there, but at least now we have Dangote.
I mean, it's a good thing that we've increased our productive capacity of fertilizer, but we still largely import a lot of the raw materials we blend in order to have the NPK and the likes that we use in our cultivation. And a recent survey last year showed, in 2020, showed that our importation of raw materials utilized in the production of fertilizer increased by over 500%. With the inclusion of Dangote's blending plant, this is actually going to continue to push forward. And if we're going to keep importing these raw materials like diammonium phosphate, MOP and the likes, we know that the increased cost would either be transferred to the farmer at the end of the day if there are no schemes that will actually reduce the cost of these raw materials in the country. Even if our use of fertilizer isn't as much as developed countries, right? There are a lot of activities that has been put in place in order to encourage the adoption of fertilizer use in the country by both private and public players. And we've honestly, even if it's been slow, we've honestly seen the uptake of fertilizer products, the use of fertilizer, the use of improved seeds and the likes. So if the already existing smallholder farmers that are inclined to using fertilizer in order to boost their productivity, if they are not able to afford it, we know that it would ultimately affect the output or the national output that we're estimating. And at the end of the day, we know if you compare this to the consumption need we have over time, the looming case of food insecurity will continue to be the case.
And with the current realities of food inflation, record and spiking fertilizer that we're talking about, what are the immediate actions that the government could take to put in place to cushion the effects from players in the value chain?
So in my perspective, there are two folds, right? First off, the government could come from a production aspect whereby the government can subsidize the cost of raw materials that are being procured in order to use or utilize in the production of fertilizer inputs. Also, even when the cost of these fertilizer inputs would be significantly reduced as a result of a fertilizer scheme or a fertilizer subsidy scheme from the production side, we know that farmers largely do not have timely finance to procure this fertilizer in order to quickly start cultivation at an earlier time to maximize the effects of the rainfall and the climate condition suitable during the wet harvest season, planting season. So if the government can continue to also provide blended finance or low-cost finance or timely low-cost finance that will actually enable farmers to enter into the market quickly, cultivate as early as possible, maximize their use of the rainfall in the cultivation of their commodities, this would cushion the effect of high cost of production or low productivity that might be the case at the end of the day.
Apex, we know you as a leading exchange. What are you doing to help smallholder farmers?
Yeah, so thank you very much for that. So AFEX comes from two perspectives. Our solutions usually span in two areas. First off would be technology. The next off would be finance in terms of innovative products, right? So in terms of technology, what we are trying to do is we're trying to bridge the gap between players in the value chain. What this means is that farmers usually stay in areas that are not close to producers or away from economic hotspots. So because of this existing reality, we know that middlemen actually arbitrage commodities at the end of the day, buying very low from farmers and selling very high to producers. And because of this, the pricing of commodities isn't really transparent in the country. But as a result of our technology, we've been able to reduce the gap between the farmer and the end user, where the farmers and the end users can interact and all players in the market can see how prices are moving or what are fair prices for commodities at the end of the day. In terms of products, we try to provide different types of financial product that will aid almost every player in the value chain. From a production perspective, we have our input notes where we, at the end of the day, raise finance in order to finance or provide finance for farmers for them to cultivate, rather for them to procure the inputs that will be utilized in the cultivation season. Also, from a producer perspective, we look at the asset-backed commercial paper where we provide where it's utilized in providing short-term liquidity for producers for them to enter into the market as early as possible and procure as much as they need for their fiscal year. In terms of also hedging perspective, we also plan to provide derivative products like futures and forwards, where people can, or players, either the buyers and sellers or the producers and consumers, can enter into the market, lock in prices, and save themselves or give themselves some type of hedge or leverage over the spot movement of commodities prices at the end of the day. So yes, we will continue to use technology, and we'll continue to produce or churn out innovative, safe financial products that will translate into real economic growth in the primary sector.
Oh, thank you so much, Femi, and we'll be looking forward to the benefits from those strategies that AFEX is accommodating to help the smallholder farmers.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, have a great day and enjoy the rest of it.